5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You blitz all night. And if they cross the line of scrimmage, I'm gonna take every last one of you out.
Hey, the blitz is coming, boys.
What's going on? Welcome back to The Blitz. I'm your host, William Spencer, and this show is to provide you with the latest and greatest in news, tips, tricks, and advice to help you win your fantasy league in just 5 minutes or less. Now, a few players' fantasy value has spiked upwards over the first 2 weeks of the season. This is a perfect time to use those players to bolster your fantasy rosters and plug some holes. So in this episode, I'm giving you 3 players that you should consider selling high on for fantasy football. But of course, before we jump into the episode, make sure that you're following the Fantasy's Finest YouTube channel for the latest episodes of The Blitz. And you can also find The Blitz in audio format on your favorite podcast platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And make sure that you like, share, and comment on the podcast episode, as it helps us see what you guys like and it helps us grow the channel via the algorithms. Now, here are the 3 players that fantasy managers should be considering flipping while their value is at an all-time high. Now, with the quarterback position taking a bunch of hits due to injuries, hopefully you were savvy enough to grab Indianapolis Colts quarterback Daniel Jones off the waiver wire earlier this week or earlier in week 1. Jones is currently heading into the week 3 format as the QB2 for fantasy football, averaging 26.5 fantasy points per game over the first 2 weeks. Jones is looking good so far, and with the recent injuries like to Jaden Daniels and Joe Burrow, those owners might be needing Jones on their fantasy rosters. Another player fantasy managers should consider selling high on is Chargers wide receiver Quentin Johnston. Johnston is off to a better fantasy start than any of us could have seen coming. Currently a top 10 fantasy wide receiver, averaging nearly 21 fantasy points per game, Johnston is a perfect sell high candidate. Johnston's 23% target share ties him second on the Chargers with Ladd McConkey with 14 targets. However, the Chargers are known for being a running team, and that switch could still potentially flip later on in the season. Also, considering that Amarian Hampton is still a viable receiving threat despite not getting many targets as of yet, someone's share is going to take a hit in the future. And finally, Seahawks running back Kenneth Walker makes the list. Now, after a bad start in week 1, Walker got active in week 2, rushing for 105 yards and a touchdown. Walker bounced back and finished week 2 with 18.8 fantasy points. Now, Walker and Zach Charbonnet will continue to split work in the Seahawks backfield, but the way that the Seahawks are going about it is a little bit concerning. So far, 1 week is Charbonnet, another is Walker. If this pattern is to continue going forward, it could become a headache not worth dealing with. It may be smarter to package Walker in a deal and get a more stable option at the need for your fantasy roster. But that'll wrap it up for this episode of The Blitz. Make sure that you're subscribed to the Fantasy's Finest YouTube channel or on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, so you don't miss out on the show. Until the next one, see you guys later on.
Yo, come back now, yeah!